Okay, we might just recap the situation now for our viewers that have just tuned in and are wondering what is underway here on the streets of Sydney. Liz Foskett, they're on Macquarie Street in central Sydney. Can you just take us through how the story has unfolded since it began developing about 2 hours ago?
Okay, well what we know is just before midday, I was inside Parliament House. There was an alert sent out on the loudspeaker saying that there was a security operation outside the front of the building and that people were not to use the front exits or entrances. They were to leave from the back entrance. From the front of the building, it appears that a man in a white late model Chrysler has driven up on the footpath and parked himself there. There are unofficial reports that the man has been threatening self-harm. And so they've cordoned off the area, pushed people right back. They've brought fire brigade units here to, just in case there is any flames or any sort of incendiary device that the man might have. He's currently in discussions with the police negotiator. He has been for the past 2 hours. They're moving right back now. They've moved right back to the back of the from the car.
And Liz, we're just seeing some. Exactly.
They're going in.
A very dramatic situation unfolding there on Macquarie Street in Sydney.
They're using tear gas, they're bashing out the windows, they're trying to get access to the car now. They've got the man outside of the car, they've got him on the ground. And
obviously their motive at the moment is to immobilise the man.
Yeah, that's right. There's a round of applause going from near where I am. It appears that they've, one of the police officers, looks like he's taken some liquid from the car. I'm not quite sure what that might have been. But at the moment they're subduing him from what I can see on the pavement. And looks like they've brought this to a very speedy conclusion. I guess it was getting to that point where they didn't want it to continue for any longer. He was in the car by himself, there was nobody else there. And I guess they thought that this was going on for quite too long now and it was time to bring it to an end.
And this was obviously a lot of the activity that you were detecting there from where you're standing a moment ago, Liz. Police obviously moving in behind the vehicle where they would have been potentially out of the sight of this gentleman while he was engaged in quite an animated discussion with the police negotiators there on the other side of the vehicle.
Yeah, they're lifting him up now. They seem to be taking him away. He's wearing a white shirt. Yeah, that's right. Obviously they decided this was the time to bring it to a close. They brought the rights where they had tear gas canisters in their hands and they had jimmies and if necessary they would have used, I think, the sorter, sort of the power saw to cut through the door, but they didn't have to do that. Ultimately they managed to get into the car and pull him out quite quickly and sprayed him with tear gas, and it appears to have ended without incident, to the relief of a lot of people here.
Yes, of course, and what we did appear to see there was a barefoot man pulled out of the car, a balding, heavy-set man, perhaps aged somewhere in his late 40s to 50s, very, very quickly wrestled down to the ground there by those police officers who swooped in force on that vehicle, and they very quickly immobilised him and placed hand restraints on him, and they've led him away out of the line of sight of our camera there. And we're just seeing that vehicle that has been sitting there on Macquarie Street there for the last 2 hours in that sun. A bit of damage there to the vehicle that we saw, obviously carried out by those police officers. I'm sure they just wanted to ensure that there was no way that this man could have prevented them from carrying out their purpose there, which was to get him out of that car and get him away from that scene.
Yeah, that was a very quick exit from the car. They came in very quickly. They didn't waste any time. They smashed the windows, pulled the doors open. They threw in tear gas because there was a few bangs going off. And then they managed to pull him out of the car quite rapidly there and get him on the ground.
And we did hear a smattering of applause there, as you mentioned a moment ago. So obviously, seeing this situation get resolved will come as an enormous relief to a lot of people there in Sydney.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, there was, I guess, until police went in, they would have had no idea whether or not he was armed or what exactly he had on him. He was, as I said, there were unconfirmed reports. He was threatening self-harm. We were hearing stories about maybe that he had petrol that could have ignited. So there was a little bit of danger there as they came in. That's obviously why they came in so fast and removed him from the vehicle before anything could occur. And, you know, people have been locked in their stores and offices in Macquarie Street on the opposite side of State Parliament since this began. So I guess they'll be looking forward to being able to, once they make this a crime scene and perhaps close it off a little bit further, they'll be able to actually get out of their offices and their shops.
That was quite an extraordinary moment we saw there just a minute or so ago as we watched those police officers move in very rapidly in a very well executed operation. We'll try and bring you those pictures again if we may. We've got a live shot there. Look, here's a replay of that incident. Now let's just watch that again. And we're seeing the tear gas or some other gas being sprayed in, perhaps a fire retardant. And the officers are smashing the windows, obviously determined to ensure that they're going to get into that vehicle no matter what.
They've got the man outside.
And we just watch those images again of them pulling the man out of the car and wrestling him to the ground. So quite extraordinary to watch. I'd imagine that Liz Foskey, there's probably quite a lot of stunned people there in Macquarie Street. Certainly not the sort of thing that you see unfold on the streets of Sydney every day.
No, this is the most dramatic event, I must admit, I've seen outside the front of State Parliament. We do have our protests, and there have been some quite violent protests in years gone past, but I've never quite seen an operation of this type outside the front of State Parliament. It's something that they obviously prepare for, and they make sure the building's secure so that it's not under any sort of threat or danger from these sorts of incidents. But it's definitely the first time I've seen something like this outside State Parliament. We're not used to it.
Okay.